And I believe we are live, and we're live with Juanito, who's extremely excited about DearMrPresident.net. And this piece, I most likely, he just left. Hold on, guys. See if he comes back. Technology. Just bear with us, guys. Thank you. Hi, Bonnie. You got it. Bye. He's coming right back. With these technologies, when you're receiving a call and you happen to be on a live podcast, if you don't have it set up properly, you don't have all the proper check marks in the proper boxes, what happens is it knocks you off, believe it or not. Here he is.
Sorry about
that. Welcome, Juanito. Juanito is very excited about the movie because it is probably the most important aspect of us being able to win this war in spades with ease. And we have to understand who's lurking behind the curtain. And I think he's got his finger on the pulse. And, he's going to be in parts of this movie, maybe more than one. I think the movie is going to be a major, major hit. I just had one of my co-producers, Elisa Valentino, look at the whole thing. We made some notes and some minor tweaks and carburetor adjustments because nothing is ever perfect. We always have to think of the audience attention span and all that kind of stuff, and the music we chose. As a matter of fact, Carol Maureen from Costa Rica just popped in, and Carol is going to have the option of watching the entire 45-minute documentary that we have so far. And we are about to add all of the small little pieces, the 45-second pieces of all the podcasters who the ones at least who decided to play ball with us and jump in our sandbox that understand the importance of this and understand that the freedom of speech and being able to grow unimpeded and no one else having control over your future on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, or any of these platforms is monumentally important when we are in a World War IV. Juanito, I know you travel probably 5 times more than I do, and I travel a lot. So I don't know how you do it because you're at the same age as I am. You're always in a different part of the world. You're about to have a conference there in Vegas with about a couple of hundred people, with some senators and governors, et cetera, some very important people. So tell us what that's all about. And then let's segue into DearMrPresident.net and what you think is lurking behind the scenes and who's really in control.
Well, and hey, good to talk to you and your audience again. Yeah, we have actually all day tomorrow on the 5th. It's open to the public. It's only $20 a person here at the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas, about a mile north of the Trump. Mr. Ahern's hotel, Don Ahern's hotel, has been from the beginning. We had other venues all around the country where they didn't want to have some of these Trump-centered patriot events after Biden got the presidency. And they were afraid. And you have to think about that. A lot of these venues didn't want pushback. They didn't want guilt by association, anything Trump, anything conservative or Q or anything like that. They were afraid. And here in Vegas, uniquely, Don Ahern and his association, this property were put and made available for these conservative groups. The president has been here and spoken. Uh, we did a number of conferences here, Constitutional Sheriff's Association. When we did the stuff on the Act Blue and other groups and how they were getting some of their funding that was very questionable, we did the conference here at this location. I've got other private meetings that I've done here where we had too many people to work at the Trump to do that there. And so this has been just a fantastic venue. And I would have to say that talk about going against the grain and being willing to be available to us. This organization, these people here have been absolutely top drawer. And then they've made a lot of changes to the way the hotel's laid out that accommodate these types of conferences. So I think we got about 200 people coming tomorrow and on the election integrity stuff and the latest of what we know. And got Mark Cook coming to do the hand count paper ballot roadshow. Had dinner last night with Joe Hoff and Trennis Evans. Had Loy Brunson, had breakfast with him this morning. We've got something coming there that people are going to be pretty stunned with. We've got an angle going forward on even the Brunson stuff that it's going to be cooking with gas. We are going to get things done. So we're having a lot of fun. It's a great conference. I need some of these times to talk to the people privately where I can wrangle them in and have some of those private conversations. Of course, you've been a participant in some of these things and been out and seen what happens when I have kind of these private conclaves. So we get a lot done.
Absolutely. So what do you think is at play here? I'm happy that you're having this conference, and I'm sure it's really important. And maybe, are you guys going to be going live anytime while we're on the show, by the way?
No. Today I have meetings with people, and I did yesterday, and I'll have them even after the conference, private meetings on a number of issues that we have, vote stuff going on around the country, including a couple of just monster things going on out in California. Oh my gosh, we've got these people by the short hairs. But so we'll have a lot of that. But the public part is tomorrow and all day tomorrow on the 5th.
Yeah.
And the people that come will just get some fantastic stuff. My buddy Pat Byrne is going to be here tomorrow, and he's going to present tomorrow evening. I think he's one of the last presenters. If you haven't heard Pat Byrne do a conference, that's a really critical one.
Well, the next time he's having one, definitely see if you can give me at least 2 weeks notice. I would love to fly out and see him in person.
Yeah. So
your microphone's coming in and out. You're muted right now. Your microphone is muted, Juan. Let's hope he doesn't drop again. That's always a possibility. Juanito.
All right. Sorry about
There you
that.
are.
I had, sorry about that. I had convention talk. In fact, I see him out across the room here coming over right now. So we got a lot of power players coming in here for this and that. But I have Pat Byrne. Pat Byrne is going to be here tomorrow night. He's going to do a presentation. If you got people that want to, if you've never gotten a chance to hear Pat Byrne and you're hearing this broadcast right now, come on up and join me, Mark. They should be here. They really should. This is going to be a great conference, and it's just a small gathering. But where else are you going to get a chance to hear, hey, bro? Where else are you going to get a chance to hear Patrick Byrne? There won't be that many times that he's available to us out in the public, and he has a heck of a story to tell. So I think if you got audience members that want to see something amazing, be part of something amazing, come on down tomorrow.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, who do you think is the power players behind the scene that are really controlling the strings, if you will, the strings of power, the strings of control when it comes to massive censorship in America? Because obviously, things have not gotten better when it comes to censorship under Trump. If anything, they've gotten worse. They have ratcheted up. They're really tightening up the ropes, if you will, to a point where if you're trying to make a living on YouTube as a podcaster, even a guy like myself who has several 100,000 people following him on 7 different platforms, it becomes, very, very difficult. The theft of, monies that is taken away from us because someone else is in control, that alone would probably warrant a lawsuit, obviously. But the reality is we're in a situation right now where someone else is driving the car that you're trying to steer, and you're trying to go left and they're pushing it right. Someone else is in charge of the brakes, the gas, the whole kit and caboodle. You literally have no control, and we're making practically fumes when it comes to you're saying, well, we're monetized. Yeah, we're monetized. If you look at the level of monetization, I'm telling you, I eat at some very expensive sushi places. Not to brag, but you're lucky if it buys you maybe a meal a month, literally.
Well, okay, let's think about that, and we probably have to go back to origins, but prior to 2016, there was a lot of small podcasters that could make a decent living because they had very nice constituencies of people that were listening, and they could monetize their work, make enough off the ad revenue that you could actually, make your car payment in your apartment, right?
That was
And
true.
those people were actually operating as independent foot soldiers. Uh, uh, in the old days, you'd have guys that go out and they try to get pictures and put a story together and bring it to a paper, bring it to a broadcast media, and have them say whatever they were going to do. So, 1 second here.
Sorry for the interruption, guys. He's in the middle of putting together a show with some very prominent people. I'll be right back. What do you guys think of the BB?
Go ahead.
Yeah, somebody said, what do you guys think of the BBB? Better Business Bureau. The more you pay in, the better review you get. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Well,
anyway,
no. Let me just tell you what the rest of the story is here, and then we'll keep it short and sweet.
Yeah.
What happened was these groups that got control of the social media. Let's go back to origins. Let's just pick one for starters. Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg supposedly created Facebook, and as the creator of Facebook, he could pick and choose who got advertising, who got various things, and with that, Facebook as his platform, he could decide who got to be on, what they could say and what they couldn't, and then pull them out. You go to YouTube. YouTube supposedly was doing, the people's work, letting us have a place to post our stuff and all that. All of a sudden, they start controlling what we get to say. Well, what's the backstory on YouTube and the locations where they're at and how they get their money? Let's start with Facebook. Facebook was actually a DARPA operation. Somebody put a paper together, said social media is coming, it's going to control how society thinks, what's going to go on in society. So we need to own that as a military operation out into the world. It has to be somewhat covert. How do we own the conversations that people are going to have all over the world via social media as a military operation? So this paper was advanced through the DARPA Defense Advanced Research Program system and presented within a congressional committee for funding. And they decided to fund it at the proposed $100 million a year for 5 years to develop a platform that could be presented out into the public within the social media network to control and monitor conversations, what's said, how it's said, etc., as a national security issue. Okay, I get all that. So 5 years, $100 million a year, $500 million later, this project called LifeLog. And by the way, in the Defense Advanced Research Program, if you spend $500 million, but you have all the right machine in place for any other company, any other group in the world doing stuff, it might cost you $5 billion to have all the access to all the different tools, mechanisms, people, flow to pull this off. They have everything right there within the research community. They can pull an expert, technology, something that's out in the future and develop it within that DARPA system that would cost 10 times as much for somebody in the private world to do. At the end of that 5 years, February 4th, 2004, both of them breaking the 8 numbers, which are this occult ritualistic mentality these people have. What happened was they shut down the LifeLog project over at DARPA, a military project looking at social media communications of the people, not just of America, but across the world, under the auspices that we need to have a handle on conversations across the world from this location here in the United States, okay? February 4th, 2004 at noon, Facebook is incorporated. Now, the story is that Zuckerberg created this over at Harvard and everybody else came in and did all their stuff. But at the end of the day, it was, just a second here, 1 second.
Looks like he's having a quantum summit. Not sure we're going to do
so
one.
Anyway, at the end of the day, what happens is that Zuckerberg is purportedly the person that creates this Facebook machine. He didn't make it. Cost $500 million. He's supposedly sitting over there as a college student at Harvard with a couple of other buddies creating this social media platform. Then the other thing is this: Zuckerberg, when he creates this thing, day one, they got money in there. And it's not insignificant money. Where's the money coming from? They're getting contracts behind the scenes for social media development and mining, mapping of people in the communications within social media. Facebook, day one, is making money because it's got government contracts tracking you guys. But it's not just one thing. When DARPA was looking at this whole field, everything involved there, they were also looking at other platforms. So the question is, how much behind the scenes is going on at YouTube? What are the real history of YouTube? What facilities are they using? What's underneath the facilities on the surface that everybody sees on top of? There's nothing really going on. What was underneath in those floors and those locations that they miraculously got to purchase that tie into some of the T1 systems and communications fibers, et cetera, to get this stuff out, and then the server platforms and all that. And who's paying all the money for those systems to exist initially so they could get a handhold, a chokehold on communications? And look at all the other possible TikTok and everything else. China's involved in it. The U.S. is involved. Other people in other countries are involved. Because why? Because it is about, it is a national defense mechanism to be able to control what gets said, how it gets said, who gets to say it, who gets the FaceTime and who doesn't, who gets choked down. And by the way that those data engines, search engines work, and the communication systems work, they have to be able to go in and kind of, push some people, puff them, and tone other people down and make the algorithms work a certain way. And that's exactly what's been happening. So now we have this question. When you come after who's choking down the conversation and affecting our right of free speech in these supposedly open pathways, remember, you had the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, and when you only had a few networks and radio stations that could own the airwaves that were supposedly limited, and people could tune their TVs to a very specific frequency, their radio to a very specific frequency, and you could only have so many locations across the dial to hear from, you had to be able to let everybody have a fair shake at it within certain guidelines. What's happened within the social media is that supposedly it was private, and so there was no media control standpoint for, like the FCC handling these communications, and so they could do whatever they wanted to. So here's the question I have for your audience. When Facebook is controlling what you have to say, is it really Facebook, or is it somebody behind the scenes? Is there some governing group or operation that is controlling your social media? And part of the question there is, who had the authority? Was there a congressional hearing? Was it the president? Was it some communications group? Was it some shadowy secret handshake group, shadow government, that had the authority to give Mark Zuckerberg something that cost the American taxpayer at a bare ass minimum $500 million, as though he created it? It's all an illusion. It's all a fraud. It's
Absolutely.
not true.
But let's
But
war game it when you have
authority?
a chance. Yeah.
Who had the authority to give him that and to create a ruse, a falsehood, a lie at the expense of the American people, to give him that like he was going to get this blessed position? And then when he did get it, did he just walk away? Did he go off into the sunset and he did everything that happened since was him? When those government contracts made sure he was making money day one for himself and the people around him, the day he was given that, the people involved had already gamed out where they were going. They knew where the future was going to be in social media, and they knew approximately numbers of what it might be worth: 50 billion, 100 billion, 500 billion, a trillion over a period of time. Zuckerberg was given something that they knew where it was going to go. And not only did they know the direction and everything else, they were blessing it to make it happen, because he got government contracts. He got National Security Agency contracts to mine the social media, to mine and data log all these different people and entities and where they were going. And then once they had enough data and saw where it was going, to then begin to steer the wheel on where it was going, using that tool exactly as it was designed initially in the DARPA operations, to help move social media content, social media influencers, social media conversations to their purposes. And by the way, from a national electorate standpoint, including across the world, not just in America, how much influence does something like a Facebook, and you can substitute any name of any of the social media groups across there into that? What influence do they have on how elections go? Who gets elected? What the conversations are that are focused on? Who gets toned out from being able to have a conversation? Remember Trump getting shut off? Can't do it. He has to create Truth Social to have a conversation. So who has the authority to do that? To what end? To what purpose? And let's think about it. So if Facebook was getting government money for mapping and even influencing the direction of the conversations in social media, when Zuckerberg gave $500 million to various locations to put drop boxes in place to help buy vote machines for certain places that didn't have electronic vote machines, just gave them the money that helped influence the fact that we had mail-in ballots and what you could talk about having to do with COVID and everything else. By the way, what you're going to find out is that the whole COVID crime was part of the election fraud to force that we couldn't meet and work together on the vote stuff, that you had a reason to have drop boxes. Remember what the reason for the drop? So you'd have social distancing. It was aimed at the vote.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, we have social distancing. Who puts the drop boxes in? As just to help America, just to be a good American. Well, excuse me, if Zuckerberg wasn't his own man when it was given to him, somebody has him on a leash. And it's within the Department of Defense system, the DARPA system, and other secret handshake organizations, the shadow government. Was Zuckerberg doing that, or was somebody else doing that under the image of Zuckerberg, under the authority pushing Zuckerberg? I'm going to tell you right now, it's senior executive service.
Right. Let's try to stay a little under the radar because we are on YouTube. Let's try to stay a little bit on it, but I want to war game. I want to war game this with you, if I may. Okay. Okay. We know a college kid does not, even though he comes from a prominent family, it don't matter. Even though he's Jewish, it don't matter. A kid that goes to college doesn't have $500 million at his disposal. Agreed. Okay. Is it possible they knew that the benefits of being able to surveil everybody, not just in the United States, but across the world, what your buying habits are, what everything you do, basically, they know you better than you know yourself. Is it possible that a portion of those levers were given to a very small portion of the military industrial complex who is behind the curtain in the basement controlling the free speech? Is that what you're alluding to?
Well, yeah. And so here's part of my question for you. How are you going to get to the bottom of that? We had congressional hearings talking about the influence of social media on the elections. Okay. We had that a couple different times. Never got to a good answer. A bunch of guys came in and hand-wringed about what's going on there. And, oh gosh, we could throw the vote as much as 15 million just by the way social media covers certain subjects, right? Are you kidding me? 15 million votes, just how social media covers it. You don't think that's important? Whoever controls that turf can control the outcome of the election. 15 million votes. That's what the testimony was before Congress. So whoever owns that crowd that can control the social media conversations. And by the way, think about who's doing those conversations over at YouTube and other places. You had independent, essentially, reporters bird dogging these issues from their area of expertise. All those influencers that were making a living, providing news to the public that they wanted. Why did they have such huge subscriberships? Because they were providing news that people wanted to know, and they were making good cases for why what they were saying was valid. I can think of a dozen or more of friends that were making a decent living, and they were doing amazing work, and we were giving them information that they could research, build out, talk about for the public. They were great, great people. Okay. So with that in mind, they all got shut down. They got their data, their their revenue streams cut off. Their advertisers couldn't get to them.
Yeah.
And they had to go away. They had to pay the bills. It's not
But
like
they
they were
need an
freaking
insurance policy, Juan. They need an insurance policy. Whether you're the military industrial complex, the good guys or bad guys, and they're going to do something shady, they need an insurance policy. The insurance policy was, is it possible that they, at some point, they knew already because they had war gamed it in their head, we're going to bring this kid down to the Epstein place there in the Bahamas without mentioning certain things, you know, what we're talking about. And let's get this kid compromised and let's get him on videotape and let's store those videotapes and let them know that these videotapes are going to come out unless you play ball, unless you do what we tell you to do.
Yeah, that
Possible?
wasn't Zuckerberg, though. No, it may have happened other places. Don't
Is it possible?
imply that. It's possible for some of those people that were in influential positions. We know that's what Epstein Island was all about: blackmail, extortion, people being bought off. That's what Epstein was all about.
It's an insurance policy, isn't it?
Honeypotted. Well, it was ways to get people under control. I don't know if I'd call it an insurance policy exactly. It was a manipulation policy. They were getting control of people that were at hinge positions out through society. It wasn't just social media. It wasn't even close. That was at the university level. That was the politicians. That was, judges. That was business leaders. Probably only a part of it was the social media. Within the social media side, the reality is, I think it's different than what you're portraying there. It's I don't want to convolute between lanes. Within the social media side, it's the people that owned these social media tools, and did they get them purely through sweat and hard work and good business tactics, or were they blessed and anointed with certain things because they're a figurehead? See, what was Zuckerberg's history? He's a student. He wasn't a captain of business at the time that he got Facebook. So who blessed him and made him the guy? And at the end of the day, was he the guy because he's some kind of a genius, or is he the guy because who he's related to or something?
Well, there's something else at play here. Yeah, the other thing that's at play, Juan, is this: he's married to a Chinese girl. Who is this Chinese girl? Is she part of the CCP? Does the CCP
she's richer
have
than
money?
he is. Think about that. She's richer than he is.
You're feeling me now. You got me.
Yeah.
Okay. So who is this girl? Why did she get married to him? What are her ties to the Communist Party? There's a lot of questions here, right? And how much does the Chinese Communist Party have invested in Zuckerberg to be able to do what they want to do with Facebook as well?
Okay, well, let's back up for a second. If we're going to go this route, let's just say this. The stuff that's coming out, and I know we're on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Let's just use, I'm playing with the fur-lined mittens right now, very soft and nice. Okay, the mink glove. Cash had 1,000 things he could have sent over to Grassley at the Senate the other day. Instead, he sends the thing about the Chinese forged counterfeit driver's licenses, saying that they were sent here to facilitate people voting who were not who are trying to vote extra times and fake who they were. And even there, when we caught those, we talked about it when it happened in 2020, it was public. But Director Wray over at the FBI had testified that there was no signs of foreign interference in the election coming up. This is before the 2020 election, months and months before. Mm-hmm. Immediately after that, guys inside the system leaked this information about China injecting these driver's licenses in. They only mentioned 20,000 in Illinois. It was 150 times that, 1,000 times that in the real number of driver's licenses that came in. It was just a sliver that you got to hear about. But it made Ray look like his testimony was questionable. Some would use the word lying. But and then he had to know this, and he did know it, and it made him look bad. Okay, uh, so at some level, uh, what Cash has led with is that China was in fact directly interfering in our elections, and what you're going to find out over time, they can go ahead and edit it over here at YouTube, and they're going to look like dumbasses for doing it. But the reality is, what's coming out even later this month and next month, is that China directly, with very complex operations and agents, and using numerous other foreign nationals and countries with their government's approval, interfered in our election, and we got Biden via an act of war, which is what Trump has called this. He has personally put that out. Hello, it's in the public. Don't freaking censor me because I said something Trump said. President of the United States said it was an act of war what China did in the stuff that was sent over to Grassley from the FBI by Cash. Act of war. Act of war. China was behind it. Now I go to COVID, act of war, China behind it to help with the social distancing and affect elections, not just here, but around the world. Then I go to the actions over at the various social media, not just picking on any one. Multiple of them would not let us have a conversation about some of this information. It was choked down. And the influencers who wanted to cover that and build out on that story, demonetized. It was not socially acceptable to have these conversations, and then they were demonetized. Their advertisers couldn't be used within the system for these various platforms. The advertisers themselves couldn't pick who they wanted to have promote and support within their monetization stuff. So you literally choked these people down to nothing, and they had to go away. They had to go pay the bills. They had to, have a life because they're not, Rockefeller. They don't have $1 billion in their pocket to go do anything they want any day of the week. They have to, be socially responsible to their own families. It affected the national conversation, affected First Amendment free speech, and then other constitutionally protected things, other amendments, 2, 3, 4, 5, were affected also. You could talk about things that might affect that because it wasn't socially acceptable by these platforms. FCC wasn't there to regulate or either way. These conversations and protect these people that had their reporting platforms, and one by one they went away. Name the number of social media people that had a platform in 2014, 15, 16 who are still around today in the alternative media. It might be 1 in 20 or 50. Okay. And even the attempts in the interim to try and build stuff and to come in there have been viciously attacked in numerous different ways, including how they can monetize. They can't get money from certain banks. Certain money processing systems wouldn't let you get monetized if you were saying conservative speech. So even the cash flow was choked off, and with the full understanding of these social media places. But let me just say this: we're not, in my opinion, going to get to the end solution on this by just attacking those social media platforms, because at the end of the day, using Zuckerberg as an example, is Zuckerberg his own man, or is Zuckerberg somebody's facade of a man? He's the puppet. He's the visible side of something much bigger, darker, deeper. Because whoever actually gave him what became Facebook today, they did that out of the military system. This was the military-industrial media complex, okay, that Eisenhower warned about. Okay, this is the extension of his warnings way back when, the military industrial complex. Well, now it's the military industrial media political complex, monetary complex. And you're not going to be able to go to Congress. We already did that, got nowhere. How many of the platforms that were taken down, how many of the people that were damaged this thing got any kind of restitution, some kind of compensation for what was destroyed in their own businesses after those congressional hearings? 15 million votes could be swayed by social media.
Zero.
Okay, from Google alone. By the way, Robert Jr. has a beautiful suit going against Google up there in Northern California. It's pretty interesting. And but so now, how are we gonna attack this? How are you gonna fix it? I'm just gonna tell you right now. You can't fix it from Congress, and you can't fix it from the judicial side because they're all bought and paid for. They're under control. They're under the thumb. Okay. The only person that has the legal authority to go into the military, industrial,
complex,
national security complex, where these things have their origins, including the money being paid for the media mapping, the social media mapping, the mapping of populations, not just America, but across the world. That's all being done on the DoD side. That's all being done in the intelligence agency side, Homeland Security, et cetera. The only people with the authority to go in there and look at that, many of them only half answer to Congress. Okay, they have other masters behind the scenes. They're getting paid. They're getting hijacked with behind the scenes money, shadow government. That's SES, the keystone between elected administrations. Only person that's going to be able to authorize the attack there is going to be the commander in chief.
Donald Trump.
What
Absolutely,
we really need is we need the president to take off his president hat, put on his commander in chief hat. An act of war has been committed against the American people to not allow us to function within our constitutional rights of communication and to monetize our activity, to pay the bills while we're doing it. Okay.
Absolutely.
So what the president, the commander in chief, needs to do is he needs to commission the investigations using military tools and investigative access. He needs to go into the social media side and look at all of the intelligence agency interactions and operations, send in investigators and ferret out who was authorizing what actions and when. Under what authority were they doing it and to whose advantage? And he needs to go back to these various people in these various organizations. How many of them were also on the payroll of senior executive service, including these media people down through the ranks, not just the owners or the CEOs and presidents of these organizations, but down within their ranks? How many of them also had some type of a payroll system into not just, by the way, SES, but other organizations out into the world like Circo and like that. So with that in mind, that's something that only the president can actually authorize, commission as the commander in chief. And that's exactly what we need to ask Trump to do. Until Trump authorizes that type of investigation with those types of tools and access, we're probably just spinning our wheels. The courts will not give you satisfaction. And by the way, these are monopolies, and they're government sanctioned monopolies. Anybody else trying to come in and compete with them? This is part of why, I'm trying to think of his name now.
While you think of his name, can I add something to what you said? And I'm sure the name will come to you while I do this. I totally agree. I do believe he has to put on his commander-in-chief hat on. I believe that crimes of treason have been done. There's been monetarily damages done to hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of podcasters like myself I'm only one of many. I'm just the one that's got the bigger cojones out of most of them to stand up for all of them, even though most of them are shadow banning me and won't even give me a 45-second little piece to come on my podcast thinking that Mel Carmine's going to become popular. They don't understand that when the quantum financial system becomes the real thing, I'm going to shut the whole fucking thing off and disappear into the sunset. But having said that, I'll say this. The reality is, it's been long said, oh, we need an internet Bill of Rights. No, the Bill of Rights is already here. It's called the Constitution of America. People die to come to America. This is privileged citizenship, folks. People die to come to America. Corporations would love to get a piece of the American dream, for crying out loud. The Constitution's already in place, and we could change because we are the dog and they are the tail. The tail does not wag the dog. So what I'm saying in essence, very short and sweet, is we could change by putting an executive order that has real teeth that can go after any guilty party, anywhere, any place, anytime, total flexibility, and say from now on, starting today, whatever that date is, where it could be, October 17th, okay? From that to October 17th going forward, we have this rule in place, executive order by the commander-in-chief, that you can no longer change the algorithm. You got to get rid of all the bumps. It's got to be a level playing field where the Mel Carmines of the world, the Nino Rodriguez's that's stuck at 500,000 people who should be at 5 million people, and he doesn't see that, unfortunately. Okay? Then you're able to grow and impede it. That's what they're afraid of, because if Nino Rodriguez can reach 5 million people instead of 100,000 people, the war machine has more effect on our side, the guys who are trying to deliver the truth. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, even ordering that there not be any continued interference from these various agencies probably gets ignored because you haven't actually identified the individuals and those projects, and you wiggle through on a word here or there on a accounting ledger somewhere, and you haven't actually, you have to go in and actually dig and ferret out, how are they being funded, who's behind it, how did they get that money or that authorization or that access, who's talking to who, giving people the secret handshake code, do this week and choke that down that week, and nobody will see this algorithm behind the scenes. Okay. And by the way, it affects the vote. So all of this at the end of the day is designed to propagandize the American people, to get them to work like a herd, to herd them into certain types of thoughts, agreements, outcomes, as though it was their idea. And you don't realize how much of it is the control, even the advertisers that have all this money. How much money did the pharmaceutical agencies get from government entities and operations and control? So why were they pushing certain themes that would control the way the vote was conducted? Because they're making gazillions. They're in on it. And they'll do the advertising with people that fit the broader social manipulative schemes. Okay? That's what's really going on.
Totally agree. So,
but you can't get there.
I think we're on the same page.
Any other way. You can't get there any other way.
Right.
But through the commander-in-chief. You're not going to fix this from the congressional side. Remember when Nancy Pelosi wanted, and this is actually going to come into some stuff here shortly too. She argued that Biden, when he came into office, in case he's not able to make a decision because of declining mental faculties, literally days after Biden is inaugurated, and he didn't get the nuclear codes, but at the end of the day, she comes out and says Congress should have control of the nuclear codes. Okay, let's say that Congress did get control and the missiles go flying from Russia or China or any place else. Now Congress has to convene, have some kind of an agreement, some security committee agree, even if it's just 5 people. How far did the missiles get in the 10 minutes to get together and get a social call going and, finish their bathroom break and then make a decision? Shoot, the missiles are 3/4 of the way here. If they're fired by subs, they're already hit the targets. it doesn't work. Okay, you're not going to get there in time. So trying to attack this social media stuff from Congress, it's already too late. They're way ahead of you. It's got to be a single decision by the commander in chief to come in and attack this problem and expose it with executive authority. Who said what? When did they say it? How did they say it? Who had the authority to decide where the money was going to? How? Start with this. Who, on what premise, had the authority to give Zuckerberg the LifeLog project? On what basis did they have that authority to give him something that day one cost $500 million and everybody knew it was a weaponized military industrial project that was going to be worth hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars at a minimum, if for no other reason, because they were going to get the exclusive contracts from DOD and other government agencies, Homeland Security, to map the public. Look at when that happened, 2004. It was still in the aftermath of 9/11. This was this project on steroids. And what's the end result? At a critical moment in American history, they're helping with the drop boxes. They're helping to push the theme of COVID and separation and a remote vote. If Trump had not done warp speed, we would be voting on cell phones that were totally manipulated behind the scenes, with social media doing everything that they could do on the planet, and you'd never get another honest vote in America ever again. It's only because we accelerated them into breaking loose the vaccines they already had early that it caused a disruption in their whole operations, fucked them up. Okay. So it'll be one of the most controversial aspects of the entire time of Trump in public office. But history will have to argue that through. He said when he was about to make the decision, he was going to make a decision that was going to cost millions of lives, potentially. And it did. But may have saved billions, saved the planet even. By the way, the guys that we have in protective custody right now, they say that beyond the United States,
You're losing you, Juanito. We lost you at beyond the United States. I know exactly where he is, by the way. We did a press release for Juanito. You there? Juanito.
yeah.
Okay, you're back. We lost you. We lost you
yeah,
at
besides
the United States.
Yeah. Well, these people stole the elections in 71 countries plus the United States. This is bigger than just America. And we have to get the conversations free here at the shining city on a hill so we can help them to have free conversations in other places of the world. We got to take back the whole world to have a conversation globally. Who's running this country, these countries, and who isn't? We got to take these guys out of power that stole control of the whole world. That's the conversation that's coming from here on.
Yeah. Hey, Kathy, just to let you know, I was the guy that introduced Larry Ballard to Nino Rodriguez. But anyway, yeah, listen, I'm on the same page with you on a lot of things. We don't agree on everything, obviously, but not to
if we did, it would be a very fun conversation. You don't need two spoons. You can be the spoon, I'll be the fork and the knife.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know exactly. I think I know exactly where you are. If I'm not mistaken, right upstairs from that little circle there that you're showing in the screen is where we had the press conference for Sean Taylor.
Yeah, right.
Correct. Yeah, see, I have a photographic memory.
I've had about a dozen things here over the last few years, and then helped others with probably another dozen or so here. And this facility is excellent. So for what we use it for, it's perfect.
Super awesome. Well, we're going to extract these little pieces that I think are nuggets, and we're going to put some of them in the documentary for sure. The documentary is coming along just fine. I'm waiting for my second co-producer from Costa Rica, Carol Moraine, to come and watch the 45 minutes that we have so far, which is, if I was to release it like that, it would be a great hit. But we're not going to do that. We want perfection, and we're going to try to be live by the 17th of August, which is a Sunday, nationwide, worldwide, on the internet. Hopefully a few days before that, we're going to hit a few theaters. It looks like we might have some luck on that front with Elisa Valentino from Long Island, my Sicilian co-host. And it looks like we might have a couple of theaters in Hawaii as well that are going to show the movie 4 or 5 days before we hit the internet hard and heavy. And hopefully that will be enough to create a buzz. We need you guys, the digital soldiers, to move your fingers, because when you watch this documentary, God forbid you hit the play button. I promise you, you're not going to be able to hit the pause button, because it will captivate you. That's how powerful it is. And I do believe it will get to the commander-in-chief, and the commander-in-chief will have to wear his, wartime uniform and wartime hat and go to war with social media and fix this once and for all. And you're right, Juan. He's the only one that can fix this. Not Congress, not the senators. Nobody can fix this.
It's a one-stop shop. He's the only one with authorities to order into the military, industrial system, and fucking SES. Who's authorizing this? Who's allowing this money to flow this way? Who's pulling these strings behind the scenes? That's what it is. He's the guy.
Yes.
He needs to order it. This is to protect the constitutional rights of Americans and the human rights of people all over the world. It's got to happen. Hey, Joe, be right with you. All right, bro. I got to head out here. I've got people waiting for me, so.
Awesome. The JenniferMack.com, guys, the Jennifer Mack. You got to shop with the good guys, okay? I know a lot of people.
By the way, we have the Gitmo coin out now. Just came out yesterday evening. So Jen's got it on her side. I've got it over at Broad.com. So and then
it
if
looks
there's
like
people
it's going to be a very
successful nearby.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a very successful event there. I wish I was in Vegas right now.
Come on over, and especially Pat Burns going to be here tomorrow night. Man, you cannot get anybody.
You got anybody with an airplane in Merritt Island? I'll jump on an airplane tonight.
All right. Well, I think we actually have somebody coming over from the East Coast here right now. The plane probably took off in the last 10 minutes. So, anyway.
Well, tell them to land in Merritt Island, pick up Mel Carmine, and I'll be there.
All right. I got to fly. I got people waiting for me. I'm a little late for it right now. So, all right,
Thank you, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget, go watch the trailer and get the trailer out everywhere. It is that powerful. A second trailer is coming, hopefully this week, coming up. And happy 4th of July to everybody. I know this was on short notice. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and spread us out there, man. The algorithms are really beating us up. But hey, listen, there's a new Sicilian cowboy in town. And I mean business. I fight a little bit different than anybody else. And I promise you that we're going to put together a fight for social media. They're never going to see me coming, but I'm coming. Thank you. We'll catch you on the next one.